Hello everyone. Today I want to talk about why Ukraine will win and Russia will lose. If it still isn't apparent to some of you, Russia has already lost this war. The only part left is for Ukraine to win. A Russian victory would look like this: Russia capturing Kiev in the first week of the special military operation and Zelensky fleeing to another country. But that really hasn't happened, has it? Russia came severely underprepared for a full-out war. They thought that Ukraine would just fold under the pressure and that Russia would be able to conquer the whole country in 3 days. Well, Russia has really lost all of its soft power because of this war, and it has shown how weak and incompetent they are. I want to remind you that in the first month of the war, Ukraine really didn't receive any major support from the Western allies because transporting weapons takes time, and the West wanted to see if Ukraine would be able to hold out. They really weren't sure if Ukraine would be able to do anything, and what's the point of sending weapons if you're going to lose anyway? This is why Russia has already lost this war, because their objectives weren't really achieved, and now they're trying to play defense against Ukraine, which doesn't sound like the second strongest military in the world to me. But anyway, let's start this video. I want to show you a couple of videos. I have a presentation slide, and I want to break this into 5 parts. I'm going to show you 5 points why Ukraine is going to win and Russia will lose. So, the first part, Ukraine has better allies. Um, Ukraine has America as an ally, and that's probably as good as it gets. If you're against America, you're in trouble. In this case, Ukraine has an ally as strong as in America. It's really hard to lose. Also, America and Europe and Australia and Japan and South Korea, and who does Russia have? Iran, a country that's, it can't really be trusted. And who else does Russia have? Belarus. China doesn't really want to help Russia militarily. They probably help with some things, but not big enough to change the outcome of this war. This is what NATO has said. Allies are unified in support for Ukraine ahead of NATO meetings, defense official says. The Russian invasion isn't over. The fighting isn't over, and neither is international support to Ukraine's right and capability to defend itself, the official said. Ukraine will continue to get support until it wins. And no matter how much Russian propagandists cry on Twitter, Ukraine will keep getting support. It's gonna keep winning. Look at the GDP of America, 23 trillion. United Kingdom, 3 trillion. And now look at Iran, not even half a trillion. Belarus, probably smaller than Brooklyn. Who do you think in the long term is gonna win? I think the answer is pretty obvious. Ukraine is about to get jets at the end of the summer. I want to remind you, when this war started, there were officials complaining that Ukraine shouldn't be even getting simple guns. Nothing. Ukraine should just give up, and now they're getting jets. Look how much the West is helping Ukraine now, after more than a year of fighting. Everyone thought that Ukraine would be forgotten about. That was Putin's plan, but it hasn't really happened, has it? Ukraine is getting tanks. It's getting Storm Shadow missiles, something that Russia doesn't even have. And what is Russia getting? Some cheap drones. I mean, they get the job done, but they're not really going to change the outcome of this war, are they? But things like this, like this, like this, they might. The second part, or the second reason Ukraine is going to win, is Ukraine has to win. Russia really doesn't have to win this war. What is Russia even getting from this war? Russia has all the natural resources a country needs. Russia is the biggest country in the world. Why does Russia need Ukraine? Well, the simple answer is that Russia doesn't need Ukraine. Putin needs Ukraine. Putin wants to be remembered as a Tsar, as a king of Russia. He wants to be remembered for something great that he achieved when he was the leader of Russia. And he decided to go after Ukraine. Ukraine has to win this war because there is no going back. Russia could just retreat, end this war. No one's attacking them. No one's attacking their families. But Ukraine has to win, or else will be no more Ukraine. I want to show you a video of how when Ukrainian soldiers come back to their families, the reaction of the families.
Цветок росів, все забрала всі твої вещи, все сохранила, все до грамочки. Тільки там входа замінірована.
Хорошо. Постарів.
Симуляточку.
Все добре.
Does this look like a country that can lose? Do you think that the Russian soldiers are treated the same when they come home? I really doubt it. Reason number 3, Ukraine is more united. Now, what do I mean by this? If you actually watch the news and watch the Russian news and what they're saying on Telegram, Twitter, and stuff like that, there's actually a lot of infighting in the Russian military. Let's take a look. Prigozhin says Wagner will not sign contracts with Russian defense minister. If you don't know what's going on, basically the Russian military wants the Wagner group to completely be engulfed in the Russian military. They don't want to be. The Russian military doesn't want Wagner to be a separate organization anymore. And what does Prigozhin say? Russia's most powerful mercenary said on Sunday that his Wagner fighters would not sign any contract with the defense minister, Sergei Shoigu. Another example. Kadyrov mocks Prigozhin's Bakhmut failures as bitter feud reignites. Chechen leader Ramzan Kadyrov has mocked the battlefield achievements of Wagner Group chief Yevgeny Prigozhin as a dispute between the two key figures in Russia's full-scale invasion continues to ramp up. Does this sound like a real military to you? Generals, leaders fighting among themselves? Doesn't sound like it to me. Vladimir Putin fires top Russian general behind massacre in Vuhledar. How many generals has Russia fired throughout this war? This general was responsible for the countless tanks that were lost in Vuhledar, if you guys heard that story. Shoigu was never even in an army, in the Russian army, the Russian military, and somehow he becomes the general? I mean, this is just ridiculous. What kind of army is this? And this certainly is not the second strongest military in the world. Reason number 4, Ukraine is on the rise. If you guys haven't noticed, there's a counteroffensive going on, and Ukraine is doing it, not Russia. It's funny because Russia was supposed to be the one that takes over Ukraine, not play defense. So, what's going on? Advances made in grueling fight. Ukrainian troops have captured the towns of Blahodatne and Neskuchnoye in southeastern Donetsk Oblast, as well as around Kamenskoye in north-central Zaporizhia. The Ukrainian army is becoming top 10 militaries in the world. If you look at the Ukrainian army before 2014, they had nothing. The soldiers were fighting in flip-flops. Russia, because of Russian aggression, Ukraine has literally actually become a real military. One of the objectives I remember hearing Putin say is to demilitarize Ukraine. He has literally done the complete opposite of that. So what objective has been achieved in Ukraine, Mr. Putin? None. Russian propagandists complain about global misinformation regarding Russian. They said they never say they threatened to take Kyiv in 3 days. Let's look at how the Russians were speaking before the military operation started, how confident they were, how much they believed their own lies.
Полковник говорили, 3, 5, максимум 8 марта.
Эта война продлится, Володя, ну максимум 3-4 дня.
Бровь поднимем, и Украина поймет все. И не надо никаких иллюзий. Возьмем Киев.
И Киев будет взят так быстро?
1,5-3 дня.
2 дня, а потом падение города.
Сутки еще будут продолжаться.
Да, еще, я думаю, да, процесс идет.
Понимали, что в горячей войне мы Украину победим за 2 дня. Чего ее побеждать-то, господи, ну Украина, ну, подавили эти огневые точки, вот мы в рекламную паузу это обсуждали.
They all said that in a couple of days they will be able to take over Ukraine. Now let's listen how they're talking now.
Показывайте сейчас пары, тройки, десятки миллионов китайских солдат. Сейчас бы прям то, что надо. То, что надо.
А почему вы так считаете?
Почему нет?
Ну, почему?
Почему
Вы что,
нет?
только считаете, солдаты должны гибнуть?
Ой, смотрю на Белгородскую область, думаю,
потенциалы?
как же нам не хватает китайской армии,
Ну, давайте я вам сейчас...
Sorry? What are you talking about? Chinese army, huh? I thought Russia was the strongest military in the world. Why does it need the Chinese People Liberation Army? I mean, this is just cringe. This is ridiculous. This is weakness. This is everything bad. Their propaganda is not working. In fact, it's making them look even worse. And the last reason that I think Ukraine will win is that Ukraine is right. Russia is wrong. Ukraine has the right to defend itself. Why should Ukraine give up any land to Russia? Crimea, in the Donbass. Who is Russia? Why should Ukraine do anything to help Russia? Why shouldn't Ukraine join NATO? Poland join NATO, the Baltic countries join NATO. Why is Ukraine different? I want to show you a video and listen to this really carefully. What Putin in 2008 said about Crimea and Ukraine.
Французский министр иностранных дел, председатель ЕС господин Кушнер выразил недавно озабоченность, что следующим конфликтом может быть Украина, а именно Крым и Севастополь как база российского военно-морского флота. Является ли Крым и Севастополь такой целью для России?
Вы сказали следующей целью. У нас не было и здесь никакой цели. Поэтому считаю, говорить о какой-то следующей цели некорректно. Это первое. Да.
Вы это исключаете?
Если вы мне позволите ответить, то вы будете удовлетворены. Значит, Крым не является никакой спорной территорией. Там не было никакого этнического конфликта, в отличие от конфликта между Южной Осетией и Грузией. И Россия давно признала границы сегодняшней Украины. Мы, по сути, закончили в целом и в общем наши переговоры по границе. Речь идет о демаркации, но это же технические дела. Вопрос о каких-то подобных целях для России, считаю, отдает провокационным смыслом. Там внутри общества в Крыму происходит сложный процесс. Проблема крымских татар, украинского населения, русского населения, вообще славянского населения. Но это внутриполитическая проблема самой Украины. У нас есть...
The internal problem of Ukraine. Putin's words, not mine. He said there is no problem in Ukraine. And then just a mere 6 years later, he takes over Crimea because people want a referendum. What? Do you not see how weak their propaganda is? Lies upon lies upon lies. This is a map of Ukraine in the 1991 referendum. Every single region of Ukraine voted for Ukrainian independence, including Crimea, including Luhansk, including Donetsk. So why is Ukraine supposed to give up any territory to Russia? What does Russia have to do with this? Crimea belongs to Ukraine. If it isn't obvious, then I don't know how much more obvious it's going to get. You're probably never going to get it then. Listen to this video. One of the points that Russia says is that they didn't want Ukraine to join NATO, and that's why they attacked Ukraine. Well, okay, Putin, Prigozhin, what about this?
Overseas tonight, a major strategic setback for Vladimir Putin, Finland officially becoming the 31st member of NATO. Look at the map before Finland joined. This is Russia's shared border with NATO countries, and now with Finland, the shared border doubling. Russia now has a 1,600-mile border backed by NATO forces, exactly what Putin did not want. Tonight, President Biden weighing in, saying NATO is more united than ever, Russia promising.
Wait a minute, hold on a second. I thought the whole point was NATO not expanding. And what have they done? They made NATO expand. Finland never really wanted to join NATO, even after 2014. Everything that Putin is trying to do, the opposite is happening. He tried to demilitarize Ukraine. It became one of the strongest militaries in the world. He didn't want NATO to expand. It's literally expanding right next to his front door. So what has this war achieved? The complete opposite, in my opinion. He said that also another point that Russia and Russian propagandists make is that Ukraine wanted to attack Russia for whatever reason. I don't know why, but Ukraine wanted to attack Russia. Ukraine gave up its nuclear arsenal to Russia. That's how much Ukraine did not want to attack Russia. That's how much it trusted Russia. Why would a country that wants to attack Russia give up its nuclear weapons? Everything that the Russian propaganda says, none of it makes sense. And that's probably maybe reason number 6 why they're going to fail, is because they're lying to themselves all the time. This has been my video. I wanted to show you why Ukraine will win, and I think I made pretty good reasons. Ukraine will win and Russia will fall apart. Thank you for listening.